Right now, on to the point. The bear fire rages on in Sierra County. Tonight, inside the fight to save homes as more help arrives.
Tracking weather impact alert days ahead as this big ridge of high pressure builds in and the peak heat in store.
Plus, the state's insurance crisis takes another turn.
We don't have the money on hand, and we have a lot of exposure out there.
How you could now end up paying some of the FAIR Plan's future bill. And Sacramento attorneys on strike, stretching into a second week. Why victim advocates say this is making families suffer.
Good evening. This is To the Point. I'm Alex Bell, and please buckle in for our first story of the night because California's home insurance crisis took yet another turn today. The State Department of Insurance told insurance companies doing business in the state that if the FAIR Plan, which is the state's insurer of last resort, runs out of money paying out claims due to a disaster, then insurance companies and those they insure could be on the hook to help pay out those FAIR Plan claims. So take a look. The number of people joining the FAIR Plan has skyrocketed since 2019. The FAIR Plan says what was just under 155,000 customers in September 2019 is now more than 408,000 in June of this year. The FAIR Plan says these are the areas that have the most wildfire exposure under the FAIR Plan, and the areas that are in our region that the FAIR Plan considers having the most risk includes Truckee, Grass Valley, and Nevada City. ABC 10's Becca Habegger explains what all of this could mean for anyone with a home insurance policy.
The historic Nevada County gold mining town of Washington, nestled in the Tahoe National Forest, is among the areas hardest hit by the insurance crisis of affordability and availability.
My homeowners, including liability, used to be like $1,300, and sure, it's going to go up. But I think now just my FAIR Plan is close to $5,000 for my house. That's a huge amount of money, especially if you are fixed income, low income.
Charity Jackson owns the Washington Hotel and has seen both her homeowners and commercial insurance for the hotel go from the regular market to the FAIR Plan after getting non-renewed with increasingly unaffordable prices.
It's going to continue to happen, it's scary.
In the past 4 years, the number of FAIR Plan policies has nearly tripled. Statewide, as of June, the FAIR Plan's total exposure grew to nearly $393 billion. In 2018, it was just $50 billion, which led one lawmaker to ask the FAIR Plan president earlier this year,
how much cash on hand do you have?
Surplus is about $200 million. Cash on hand is somewhere in the neighborhood of $700 million.
So a tiny percentage of what your exposure is.
At a hearing held by the California Assembly Insurance Committee back in March, FAIR Plan President Victoria Roach said the FAIR Plan had purchased about $2.5 billion in reinsurance, essentially insurance for insurers, and why that's still not enough.
If you look at the Paradise Fire that happened, and you look at about 45 miles south of that area, if that burned today, that same fire footprint, that fire map that happened in Paradise, if that burned today about 45 miles from there, we would have over $6 billion in losses.
Flash forward to now. The California Department of Insurance, which regulates how much a company can charge customers, says if the FAIR Plan can't pay its claims, it can ask for that money from insurance companies doing business in California, which can then, with the permission of the Department of Insurance, turn around and recoup some or all of those costs from their policyholders.
The bad side is that there's the potential. There's always the potential, right? The good side is now we know if you're with the FAIR Plan, you do not have to worry about your claim being paid because there's all of this money that's going to come into it first.
Insurance expert Carl Sussman says the Department of Insurance is working on solutions to the insurance crisis it plans on having in place by the end of the year, with the hope of stabilizing the market, bringing more companies back to the state, and taking some of the burden off the FAIR Plan.
And we know with all of these guidelines coming out that the carriers, when they re-enter the market, FAIR Plan business will be the first business they start taking.
He hopes to see change sometime next year, while homeowners remain in an unstable insurance market for now.
I mean, this is like people can't afford to live.
Becca Habegger, back at it again, our resident homeowners insurance expert right here. And I do want to ask you, though, talk about some of the plans that the insurance commissioner has to attract some of these companies back to our state, because this is something that's really been talked about.
Yeah, I know these companies have been asking for these measures for years now. One, for example, would allow companies to use forward-looking so-called catastrophe modeling when applying for rate increases. Essentially, a computer algorithm that would allow them to better predict and price where wildfire risk is highest. Currently, companies can only use the past 20 years worth of data in exchange for that tool. However, the department is requiring companies to write more policies in wildfire-prone areas, including taking people off the FAIR plan and back into the regular market. And Alex, even though the FAIR plan was created by the state, the pool of money is not from taxpayers. It's funded largely by the policies that it sells.
Yep. Thank you, Becca, so much for that update. And I do want to mention that coming in October, we will have a lot more on the insurance crisis right here on To The Point. We have been speaking to homeowners across our region about how all of this has impacted them. And as this crisis continues, I've been sitting down with our local Congress members asking if anything is being done in Congress to address the insurance crisis. There are a lot of issues, even more viewpoints, and that is all coming to you right here on To The Point in October. And we are tracking wildfires tonight. The Bear Fire remains active in Sierra County. This is about 40 miles north of Truckee. People in the town of Sierra Brooks have been under evacuation orders. And so far, more than 1,300 acres have burned with 0% containment. ABC 10's Devin Truby is at the firefight with efforts that are underway to save lives and homes.
Well, I want you to take a look at the Bear Fire burning up the ridgeline behind me. This is a joint effort between CAL FIRE and the Forest Service. You can also see dozers actively cutting line into the ridge. This fire has jumped Smith Neck Road that was trying to be used as a containment line. The air attack from CAL FIRE continues to be relentless, with Hawk helicopters, C-130s dropping fire retardant as the fire continues to blaze through the Tahoe National Forest. More than 700 homes are without power. More than 280 structures are threatened and hundreds of people are being impacted. The Forest Service says more resources are on the way. Several hotshot crews that specialize in the most difficult and dangerous fires have been digging these lines for hours in the steep forest terrain. The Bear Fire started 2 p.m. Monday along the side of the road. The cause is currently undetermined. We did confirm with the U.S. Forest Service that one firefighter did have to come off the line earlier today because they were experiencing dehydration, but they are expected to make a full recovery. Reporting from the Bear Fire in Sierra County, Devin Truby, ABC 10.
Let's get over to Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods, tracking the fire conditions and a stretch of weather impact alert days. Right, Monica?
That's right. We've had a shift in our winds out of the north. Now, that is helping firefighters in terms of not seeing those really gusty winds, and we're no longer under that red flag warning for the Sierra, but instead we're dealing with the heat, because those are dry and warming winds. So our heat advisory goes into place tomorrow. That'll take us through Friday. Highs between 100 and 106 already. We're up 10 to almost 20 degrees from yesterday at this point. That's putting us deep into the 90s throughout the valley. 70s for the coast, 80s and 90s for the foothills, and 70s for the Sierra. Our weather impact alert headlines include timing: Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The impact being heat risk and fire danger. Gonna need to practice that heat and fire safety over the coming days. Highs today close to 100. We'll get there for tomorrow. Tonight, though, we'll cool those conditions into the 60s on our way to a stretch of 100s. Alex?
All right, thanks, Monica. A strike involving hundreds of prosecutors and public defenders in Sacramento County is now in its second week. This was the view outside the downtown courthouse just today, and attorneys are calling for raises. With the strike continuing, the district attorney says hearings and trials are being delayed and cases are beginning to stack up. Two victim advocates that we spoke to say they fear that families are suffering while they wait.
I know of at least one for certain that has been pushed back because the attorney is on strike.
You know, they have to sit there with us and go through autopsy photos and tell us details about things that happened to our loved ones. And they have to sit there and go through that in court every day. The things that they have to go through on a day-to-day basis is very traumatic and can be very heavy.
The district attorney says the Board of Supervisors has a budget meeting tomorrow morning where he plans to ask the board to resolve the labor strike. And in a statement, Sacramento County says, in part, the union provided a counteroffer on Friday seeking a one-year contract extension and an additional 7.5% wage increase, as well as a 1 to 4% cost of living adjustment increase on top of the 14 to 15% increases it agreed to in the contract effective January 2023 through June 2025. They added that these employees are among the highest paid in the county and have the lowest vacancy rate. We now know the name of the mother who was killed near Galt, and her suspect is her son. The suspect is her son. 64-year-old Salud Martinez died last Wednesday after deputies say her son, 29-year-old John Martinez, attacked her with a shovel. He was arrested after a standoff and is at the Sacramento County Jail. He's expected back in court September 16th. New body camera video tonight from Ripon police rescuing a passenger from a burning Tesla that crashed after the driver tried to get away from officers. It happened around 9 Monday night at Jacktone Road and Santos Avenue. The officer suffered second-degree burns to his hands, and the passenger is in critical condition. The driver was later arrested for felony hit and run. Next, on To the Point, concern over an Elk Grove school for kids with disabilities, why some fear about its future. Plus, major developments in former President Trump's legal troubles, what could happen before the election. And the new video tonight out of Tel Aviv, protests growing. Are world leaders any closer to a ceasefire deal? And we're back with Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods, and you were tracking several weather impact alert days on the calendar here.
That's right. Heat is back in the forecast just on the heels of as we celebrated that long holiday weekend, the unofficial end to summer. But you can see across the board here, our headlines include that big temperature increase, major to extreme heat risk, and a slightly elevated fire danger. The biggest thing that we're going to be tracking is this heat advisory that extends all throughout the lower elevations, starting off tomorrow morning, lasting through Friday evening. Slight elevation in fire danger during the late afternoon because of those breezes that come in. But the big fire danger was earlier in the forecast as we picked up those strong winds. We saw this bear fire break out. Those winds helped to accelerate the growth, and so we'll continue to track that. As far as the smoke is really hanging in right across the Tahoe Basin here and mainly east of the crest, but it will settle into the lower elevations for tonight. A little bit of haziness into tomorrow, and we'll also have the heat to accompany that, starting off with morning lows in the 60s. Highs warming into the 100s, and that'll be region-wide under this ridge of high pressure. It's bringing the sinking, warming air, and once that moves off to the east, we'll see a slight chance of some showers and thunderstorms for the Sierra. So we're going to be tracking some more fire danger this weekend. Highs in the 80s for the Sierra tomorrow, 90s and 100s for the foothills. We're in the 70s across the coast. Once we head inland, it's widespread 100s. It'll be a fairly mild start to the morning, but we heat up quickly. Slight chance of those thunderstorms on Friday for the Sierra. Slight chance of showers on Saturday. For the foothills, we'll keep it dry with highs close to 100. 70s along the coast. Our 3-day forecast features the first 3 days of our weather impact alert. And then we're going to back off a little bit with that because we'll see some slightly cooler weather ahead for the weekend into next week. Not necessarily in record territory. Thank goodness. Those records are deep into the 100s, Alex.
All right, Monica, thank you. Next, on To the Point, why some parents called on other families to speak out tonight over an Elk Grove school for kids with disabilities. Plus, former President Donald Trump's legal troubles. Could he be sentenced before the election? Welcome back. Tonight, parents of Elk Grove Unified students are at their school board meeting calling on the district to preserve inclusion at the Jesse Baker Elementary School. They tell us that they fear the school for kids with disabilities could be changing. ABC 10's Luke Cleary is at the board meeting tonight. And Luke, we understand that it just got underway just a little bit ago.
Yeah, that's right, Alex. The meeting got underway about 45 minutes ago, and let me tell you, it's a packed house in there. Lots of parents wearing their Bulldog blue t-shirts in solidarity with Jesse Baker School. I want to go ahead and show you some video from just moments ago inside that meeting. I'll take you inside there as I want to just tell you, some of the parents that I spoke to here tell me that they're concerned that fewer and fewer elementary school children are being admitted to Jessie Baker. They worry that the district is considering transitioning the school to an all-adult school, and that their elementary age children will be gradually phased into general education schools. That is their concern. In a letter to parents, the district said it's not closing the Jessie Baker School, and it's trying to reassure them that no existing students will be moved, but that it is shifting to an older demographic of students. So out here live, again, I've been speaking to a number of parents as they made their way into this meeting here tonight, and the one thing that I keep hearing about the Jessie Baker School is the sense of community that it creates, the sense of community and safety for their children with moderate to severe disabilities, and they worry that this shift will take that away. And so that's the kind of thing that we're expecting to hear parents voicing tonight as the meeting gets underway. We haven't talked to anybody with the district just yet, but we plan on doing that for our story later tonight at 11 on Late News Tonight. But for now, reporting in Elk Grove, Luke Clary, ABC 10.
Luke, thank you so much. Tonight in Your Voice, Your Vote. A new ruling in former President Trump's New York hush money criminal case. A federal judge says that Trump had not satisfied the burden of proof required for a federal court to take control of the case. The case will remain in a New York state court case where Trump was convicted on 34 felony counts in connection to hush money payments made to an adult film actress. A New York state judge in the case has scheduled sentencing for September 18th, though Trump's lawyers argue this should be delayed until after the presidential election, arguing that this would be election interference. And earlier today, Trump pled not guilty in his January 6th case in Washington, D.C., and waived his right to be present for his arraignment. Special counsel Jack Smith unsealed a new indictment in the case just last week in light of the Supreme Court's presidential immunity ruling. Tonight in the presidential race, the Harris campaign started a new bus tour highlighting their stance on reproductive rights. There is new polling, and the presidential debate is just 1 week away. ABC's Perry Russum reports from Washington.
The Harris campaign launching a new bus tour called Fighting for Reproductive Freedom, with at least 50 stops in what the campaign calls key states.
With this bus tour, we're going to make sure everyone in the nation knows the stakes. The only way to protect reproductive freedom is by rejecting Donald Trump.
Abortion rights is on the ballot in several states, including Florida, where the bus tour is starting. Last week, Trump telling NBC News the 6-week abortion ban in Florida is too short, and there has to be more time. Trump later saying he will vote no on the ballot measure that would overturn Florida's near-total abortion ban. Days ago, Trump unveiling a new proposal for in vitro fertilization.
We are government. The government is going to pay for it, or we're going to get or mandate your insurance company to pay for it.
Recent polling from ABC News and Ipsos shows voters trust Harris more than Trump on the issue of abortion rights. There is a voter divide between men and women. Our polling shows Harris is up 13 percentage points with women.
And it's driven primarily by white women, who now say they're more likely to support Harris, according to our polling.
The ABC News debate is 1 week away. Harris leaning on former Hillary Clinton advisor Philippe Reines to play the role of Trump. The Trump campaign bringing in Tulsi Gabbard, who debated Harris during the 2020 presidential campaign. Gabbard on CNN this weekend.
What I pointed out in that debate stage in the 2020 campaign was her hypocrisy. It was how she was saying one thing and doing another.
Both campaigns have a lighter schedule heading into the debate next Tuesday, the first debate between Harris and Trump. It's also the first time Harris and Trump will meet each other. Perry Russum, ABC News, Washington.
The presidential debate airs right here on ABC 10 on Tuesday, September 10th at 6 p.m. And we will be bringing you special coverage throughout the night on that debate. All right, tonight in the Israel-Hamas war, the Department of Justice charged 6 members of Hamas's leadership over involvement in Americans' deaths during the October 7th attack on Israel. The DOJ says charges were first filed in February, but released now because 3 of the 6 charged are now deceased, and given the recent developments in the region. Tonight in Israel, protesters faced off with police in Tel Aviv in the city's 3rd night of widespread protests. They are calling on Israel's prime minister to secure a Gaza ceasefire deal that would include a deal to return Hamas hostages. Benjamin Netanyahu remains adamant that Israel will not be making additional concessions in the ceasefire negotiations with Hamas.
We're asked to make concessions? What message does this send Hamas? It says, kill more hostages.
President Biden saying Netanyahu is not doing enough to get a deal done, and he plans to speak with him, quote, eventually. The president and vice president have both been in the Situation Room this week strategizing with top aides on a deal. Senior U.S. officials telling ABC News Biden is considering presenting Israel and Hamas with a, quote, final proposal. Coming up next on To The Point, the big reveal of Wheel of Fortune, what Ryan Seacrest is saying just days away from his debut as the new host. We are just days away from Ryan Seacrest hosting Wheel of Fortune. Tonight, Seacrest tells ABC that he is already full of smiles. His heart has been pounding showing up to set, and he's been preparing. Seacrest says nothing on the show is changing except for a sleek new set. He makes his Wheel of Fortune debut as host on Monday, September 9th. As always, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. If you have something that you think we should be looking into, make sure to reach out to me and the team, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great night. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.